playgrounds children used to know. Little squares where robbers love to go. Disappear so parking lots can grow.
The bright sun on the French Riviera is deceptive in its alluring work of slow burn suspense from thriller specialist Jacques Duray and legendary screenwriter Jean-Claude Carrière. La Piscine, also known as a swimming pool, is a dark morality drama that seduces with its setting, its languorous pace, and is a paragon of 1960s modernist cool with effortlessly chic clothes and a loungy Michael Legrand score. The film in many ways is a silent pressure cooker, the boiling point for simmering jealousy, male-female possessiveness, and the hint of violence are at the core of the story, where the matters of sex and death intersect with a quiet command. Sultry, hypnotic, and quietly ruthless, Jacques Duray's La Piscine is a film experience both pleasurable and discomforting. Formerly one of European cinema's most iconic real-life couples, Alain Delon and Romy Schneider reunited for this film, bringing a palpable exotic chemistry to their performances as the bronzed and beautiful vacationers, Jean-Paul and Marianne, whose idyllic lives are interrupted by the sudden arrival of their longtime friend Harry, Maurice Renette. Harry has brought along his 18-year-old daughter Penelope, played by the late great Jane Birkin, and the four settle down for what is expected to be a simple stayover. However, it is soon revealed that Harry was once Marianne's lover. This doesn't sit well with Jean-Paul, who can do little to hide the resentment and jealousy he feels. Marianne seems oblivious to the tension and continues to engage openly and heartedly with Harry. Meanwhile, Penelope has her own bone of contention. She begrudges the time she is forced to spend with her father, describing him unflatteringly as something of a rich deadbeat. Bored at first, Penelope eyes the perimeters of her new environment with indifference until she discovers what a thrilling companion Jean-Paul makes. This greatly unnerves Harry, who knows firsthand the kind of amorous and unstable man Jean-Paul is. La Piscine dives deep to reveal sinister undercurrents rolling beneath its seductive surfaces, but to watch this villa thriller 50 years later, the film's minimalist composure is noteworthy, which Duray encouraged, requesting a Carrière that dialogue and description in the script be kept as minimal as possible, that gives La Piscine enigmatic longevity that other visions of the era lack. The narrative's ambivalent qualities festers close to our conscience. For their parts, the actors are admirably restrained, leaving viewers with an appropriate amount of guesswork to make them think deeply about the actions taking place. The moralities of the upper class, or lack thereof, are routinely called into question, pressured onward by vicious waves of self-doubt, suspicion, and interminable lusts. These characters are pulled to demanding extremes. You wouldn't know it from the placid manners that inform their exchanges, but the subtleties and minimalist deployments are telling. Every look that crosses a face is one of wonder or poisonous intent that further reveals the hidden nature of these complicated relationships. Duray is never explicit in depicting unfaithfulness or transgression, but the sense of a secrecy and illicit lust is all the more powerful. Harry's wandering hand slipping through the slit of Marianne's dress, his incestuous caress of Penelope's prone, bikini-clad form, Penelope giggling, coming back from her sea swim with Jean-Paul, wrapped in his denim jacket, her hair struggling with salt water, and the suggestion of sex. A seemingly happy couple is living in a borrowed villa near Saint-Tropez, smoking cigarettes, making love, and languidly paddling around the deep blue swimming pool of the Tidal. It was a vehicle for vicarious intimacy with one of the era's most golden celebrity pairings in Delon and Schneider, and the film's astonishingly sexy opening, during which one could swear that an unfakeable familiarity between his flesh and hers is detectable, is a brilliant example of giving the audience what it wants, up front. Jean-Paul and Marianne, lovers who appear to be gloriously happy in a sumptuous villa in the south of France, but more reflective moments reveal them both to be anxious and unfulfilled. The narrative's greatest aid is the pristinely gorgeous photography that captures these characters. Cinematographer Jean-Jacques Tarbes manages a postcard-perfect aesthetic that confines the beauty of both the actors and the scenery. These are four of the most outrageously photogenic actors ever. Through the sublimely handsome and static framing, the deeply festering emotions are rendered even more frightening and turbulent. The film's signature shots are furtive, partially obscured, spying through glass panes, branches, or barred windows like an observing stranger. Duray remains an unobtrusive director, allowing his actors to guide the story, Simply through the expression of various emotions, his style is a calculation of distance, narrowing in on certain moments when we are meant to see the very fine brushstrokes of an actor's performance, and pulling away when the larger picture reveals details only discerned in the wider scopes. The framing suggests that Harry's arrival has already disturbed the free, indolent equilibrium of earlier, and that the couple are imprisoned in a newly unstable dynamic.
À quoi tu penses?
C'est curieux. Tu me parles souvent des autres et Harry, rien. Pas un mot.
Parce qu'il n'y a rien à dire.
With the audience surely entranced by the visuals, the cryptic cleverness of Carrier's script may not register at first. The plot inches forward as information about this four-sided relationship is parcelled out in passive-aggressive observations and backhanded compliments. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, at first, old resentments come back. Cracks form in the couple's relationship, grudges become hostility, and finally erupt into violence. The pool itself is a centre for all sorts of sensuality, and something in the very lineaments of the pool itself that creates their own awful destiny is a primordial swamp of desire, a space in which there is nothing to do but laze around, furtively looking at semi-naked bodies. A swimming pool after nightfall can be a sinister place, in that it's like almost any venue designed for daytime pleasures, a shuttered amusement park, a deserted playground, but the specific menace of a private pool, bright water that holds the daytime memory of bare skin, turns to black mirror, a surface that reflects and inverts, what is sex by day becomes death by night, when from the same poolside spot where he frolicked earlier with his girlfriend, Jean-Paul kills Harry in a crime of passion notable for its dispassion. This perversely listed murder was not the first time that Delon had sent Renette to a watery grave. In Renette Clement's Purple Noon, Delon became a star playing the insolent, insolvent Tom Ripley. With the sun sparkling high in the sky, Tom knifes his wealthy friend Philip in the stomach and pitches his body over the edge of a trim sailboat into an implacably blue Mediterranean. Then he eats a peach. The villa in Le Piscine, like the sailboat in Purple Noon, is borrowed territory, a signifier of the eternally at leisure class to which both Delon characters feel entitled to belong. Both murders are opportunistic, but also premeditated. Note the deliberate way that Jean-Paul slips off his shoes by the pool's edge. See the blade that Tom has stashed in the seat lining, and both are motivated by the same prideful envy, the same peaked ego and thwarted privilege. In both films, Renette plays a romantic rival. In La Piscine, the two men bare their teeth and beat their chests over Marianne and Harry's cultish 18-year-old daughter Penelope. Like Harry, Philip is wealthy and self-indulgent. Also like Harry, Philip underestimates the resentment he inspires in a supposed friend. Delon's permafrost eyes conceal his character's intentions until the victim's last gasp, and if Jean-Paul does not messily devour a peach to signal an animalistic lack of remorse after the fact, he does the next best thing: he goes to sleep. Delon's handsomeness was so extreme that he barely had to do anything to strike an audience as untrustworthy. A face that perfect, one reasons could be concealing anything. In costuming, featuring pieces by André Courrèges, the designer credited for originating the miniskirt, plays an unusually central narrative role. Once Jean-Paul and Marianne are exiled from their metaphorical Eden, they remain fully clothed for the rest of the picture, and the movie's colour palette becomes more autumnal. Clothing is complicit. After all, in a light of burnished surfaces that conceal true intent, there's no accident that the characters become more covered up the deeper into intrigue they move. As Jean-Paul, Delon is in charismatic control when he is dressed only in shorts, with the bright pearls of water clinging to his tanned shoulders, but he looks younger, somehow boyishly lost when fully clothed. The outfits appear designed to remind us of nakedness. Harry's, on that last night, is tight and slightly sheer, even before the pool water slicks to his torso. But it's not just the erotic that the wardrobe evokes. During Harry and Jean-Paul's final confrontation, the men are, for the first time, dressed similarly, in white tops and blue jeans. They look like mirror images of each other, a psychologically provocative conceit that implies not only that Jean-Paul's interest in Penelope is partly an expression of Harry's taboo desire for his own daughter, but also that, when Jean-Paul, who we've been told has attempted suicide in the past, is dunking Harry's head under the reflective water. That act is also an attempt at self-erasure. There are versions of the narcissist myth in which the young mortal, in love with his own beauty, drowns while trying to possess his reflection.
Je te regarde. Je te regarde vivre, manger, marcher, répondre au téléphone. Il me semble que c'est la première fois que je te regarde.
Marianne is stunned in the sweltering days following the funeral. Jean-Paul has not changed, a sociopath cannot, but the murder, which may have been his monstrous egoist's first honest act, has finally revealed him to her. He is paradoxically diminished by the revelation. His mystery is gone, and so, in the film's final quarter, our attention is channeled toward Marianne, who we suddenly notice has been magnificent all along, after being oogled and ignored, and compared with Penelope's younger, blanker model, after being only briefly cherished and tossed aside, namely in her own flirtatious undoing. Marianne, to whom Snyder lends such interiority, such secret smiles and sadnesses, is finally rewarded by inheriting the whole film. Everyone else in the film, even the apparently innocent but actually petulantly manipulative Penelope, acts helplessly according to the dictates of fate and the worst impulses of their bored, entitled natures. Birkin flits around silently and menacingly, sowing seeds of doubt in the free heads who look on her with both suspicion and awe. Deliciously underscoring her Penelope with a well-played sour streak, she precipitates an atmosphere of folly and dread.
J'ai peur, je sais pas pourquoi.
Only Marianne gets to choose, and the choice she makes is to become complicit at the cost of her conscience. This could reduce her to a stereotype, yet another woman self-sacrificing for the love of a worthless man. But as Snyder's conflicted, uneasy Marianne fidgets and frowns in a climactic embrace that envelops but brings no comfort. Just as the sun here is hot but spreads no warmth, a world of disastrous moral consequences is implied. It is an elegant deception to grant Jean-Paul the murderish action, but Marianne the momentous arc, and it gives La Piscine its deep end. His is the drama, but hers is the tragedy. Jacques Duret's French Riviera set tale of high-stakes hedonism is a tour de force of sexual longing, a slow burner rife with impossible beauty and turbulent emotion. Delon's image was consolidated by La Piscine. Snyder's was liberated. Though she had been working steadily, she had not yet shaken off the wholesome persona of the sissy movies that had made her famous in the mid-50s, but the skin and the subtlety on display in her performance as Marianne not only announced her arrival as a performer of sensuality and maturity, immediately leading to a career-invigorating narrative shift. La Piscine proposes a strange predicament of action and desire, where the only possible result is one of abated virtue. The long stretch towards the last third allows for a lingering mist of presentiment to sustain this evil under the sun mood splendidly. It lingers like a sunburn long after a seemingly harmless day at the pool,